Hey, thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we are tracking storms across the northern plains this afternoon and the central plains all the way back to the Rockies. So we're talking about places like Denver into Nebraska, Kansas also in the path for storms today. Here's a look at your headlines. We have Denver and the hail risk this afternoon. Ping pong ball size hail possible in Denver. If you go a little bit farther to the east into western Nebraska, that's when you get into that larger up to tennis ball size hail. Your tornado outlook for today, anywhere from Colorado to Nebraska, all the way out into Virginia. And we're tracking the tropics, where we have a 90% chance for tropical cyclone formation. That next named storm, we're just a few hours away. That will be Gabrielle. So we will talk about that here in just a few minutes, but I want to get you a look at what we're seeing at the moment. We have a cold front that stretches anywhere from Minnesota all the way through South Dakota, Nebraska, and into Colorado. This is going to help the initiation for storms later on today. What we see right now is we see that southern wind going into the cold front and then that northern wind coming down. That divide right there is going to help our storms to initiate later on this afternoon and into the overnight hours, but you can see just along and behind the cold front, we already have some ongoing showers and storms. Now, I'm not worried about anything behind the cold front. These storms are going to stay non-severe. It's those storms that interact with our daytime heating, all of that moisture that's sitting right in this area. We've got a little line of moisture right here. That's what's going to help to fuel storms later on today. But we'll get out of the meteorology of it. Let's go out to the east. We've got a low pressure system that's sitting right along the east coast right now that's bringing flooding and tornado issues to the Virginia and North Carolina areas. Throughout most of the plains, we're dry right now. A few clouds out there, feeling honestly pretty warm and muggy out there today. 88 is your current temperature here in Oklahoma City, 86 in KC. You're sitting at a pretty comfortable, maybe a bit warm 71 in Denver at the moment. And obviously with those cooler temperatures likely over the next few days as that cold front goes through. Yesterday, we didn't have a ton of storms out there. We saw a few in some areas, but we talked about 4 different areas for storms yesterday, and none of those were too impressive. Now today, it's a different story, as I am very impressed with the storm setup today. Let's take a look at your significant hail model. What you're looking for here is you're looking for these deeper yellows, oranges, and maybe even some reds. That means larger hail sizes. So where do we see that today? Your eye goes right to the northeast corner of Colorado and into western Nebraska. That is where I have outlined for your largest hail sizes today. Let's go ahead and watch. Let's actually zoom down. Let's zoom down because I know a lot of people have questions about Denver. Denver, what is your hail chance for hail sizes today? What I saw on there were maybe some orange colors, so that's usually right around the ping pong, maybe up to golf ball size hail. But I would say ping pong ball size hail for today, if you're lucky, in Denver. Let's go ahead and move on, talk about the largest hail size that we could see in the U.S. I went ahead and said hen, egg to tennis ball size hail today, and the reason that I did that is because those storms in Nebraska are looking pretty impressive. So I would say northeastern Colorado into Nebraska, that's where I pinpointed for the largest hailstones today, anywhere between that hen, egg to tennis ball size hail. As we put some cities and your risk level on the board as well, what we're looking at here is Denver to get widespread showers and storms later on this afternoon and evening. McCook and western Nebraska also with that widespread showers and storms. You're going to also have a tornado risk in this area and a high wind risk as well. So we'll get into that here in just a few minutes. Now, as you can see, we've got a lot of cities on the board here, and we're actually about to add Iowa into that wind risk as well. So let us know where you're watching from today. Where do you want us to focus the forecast? I definitely have some focus in Denver. Later on in the forecast, we'll talk about each of these areas individual, but we'll try to spend more time on areas where we know you guys are watching from. We've highlighted some areas here in red. All hazards possible today, and we're going to go ahead and break down each individual hazard of each of these regions. Let's go ahead and let's start in the northern plains, central plains area. We're going to start in Colorado. We're going to start in Nebraska. And I've actually highlighted the area where I think you're going to see the most and most impactful storms. We're going to start about 3 o'clock this afternoon. So we've got showers ongoing right now, none of those severe. Give it one more time. Give it a few hours, and then we'll see more storms in this area go severe. Most of these storms are going to start just to the west of I-25 and then up to the north, right along the northern edge of this risk right here. And then they're going to track to the east through the overnight hours in multiple different directions. So I'm going to go through this pretty slowly here, and I want you to see how we're going to see a few storms up to the north, a few storms out to the west of I-25 here, and then it's going to become more widespread as we head into the evening hours past dinner time. Again, with that most likely area for most impactful storms highlighted there in yellow. And I know Denver, you guys are cut off a little bit by this map. We're going to get down into a Denver specific forecast in just a minute. But I really want to focus on this line of storms right here, which starts isolated at first, and that's where that hail comes in. That large hail up to tennis ball size hail today. High winds are also going to be a factor, especially later on in the evening and overnight hours. Do you see this bowing area right here where it's kind of making this backwards C-shaped? That's a signature of high winds right through the central portion of Nebraska. As we head farther down to the south, we can see that tornado risk increase as well. So we'll have to keep an eye on this entire area as we have all hazards possible. Now, I told you we'd get right down into Denver, and it didn't take long. I want to go ahead and show your Denver specific forecast, because what we're talking about in Denver, Colorado today is maximum hail size up to ping pong ball size hail. And your chance for 1-inch hail, I kept that at a level 2 on a scale of 4. So I would say since you have scattered showers and storms, a few of those will go severe, and then that'll produce some hail. One of the biggest risks that we see in Denver today is that hail risk. Storms will go up around 3 o'clock this afternoon just to the west of I-25, a scene that you see very, very often. These storms will continue to track across the highway as we head into the late afternoon hours and into the overnight hours tonight. Now, just a reminder here, our time is in Central Daylight Time. It is not in Mountain Time. I know we can't change it on our system. That's just what we have. So just do the math and go, 4 to 8 o'clock is going to be your timeline in Denver, okay? There you go. Okay, so Denver, Colorado, again, you have widespread scattered showers and storms by 4 to 5 o'clock this evening. You're headed home from work. You're probably seeing those tall building clouds in the distance, or you're getting rained on. So this could impact your evening commute. This will most likely be over by about 7 to 8 o'clock tonight. The severe risk goes down drastically after that. However, the rain could linger as we head into the overnight hours. I'm not too concerned about the severity of these storms as the sun goes down. There's your hail forecast for Denver. Let me know if you want any other, or you want me to go back and talk about timeline again. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and move on to your wind forecast today. 60 to 70 mile per hour wind speeds possible. We are now adding Iowa and portions of northern Missouri just to the north of KC in this risk as well. So we have an all hazards risk, not only for wind, hail, but also a tornado risk here. I want to go ahead and fast forward to that tornado risk. We've got one area, it's a tiny area out in Virginia Beach for a tornado today. Go back to Colorado. There you go. Colorado and Nebraska. There's your level 1 risk for an isolated or brief tornado later on this afternoon and evening. Again, the timeline that I'm giving here for tornado risk will be about 10 to 11 o'clock tonight. I'm extending that tornado risk for some of these Nebraska storms that are going to be lasting into the late, if not overnight hours tonight. Moving on here, now this is your storm risk coming from the SPC. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the wind risk later on tonight and into the overnight hours, later on this evening and into tonight. Iowa and northern Missouri here, you're going to see these storms pop up right along I-35 and I-235. These are going to go up fast. It's rush hour. You're headed home from work. All of a sudden, you're seeing storms accumulate in the northern portion of Missouri and southern portion of Iowa. The biggest hazard that I see here is that high wind risk. We could see some strong wind gusts in this area. Meanwhile, again, through those overnight hours, we've got just a line of storms that are still moving through the central portion of Nebraska and then out to the east in places like Omaha by early tomorrow morning. Dathan has a great question. What's the hail risk for Nebraska today? Now, I have a question for you. Where in Nebraska? Because if you talk about the western side of Nebraska, you have a really good chance for hail. If you talk about the central to eastern side of Nebraska, your hail risk goes down drastically. Here's a look at your hail forecast for Nebraska today. We're going to put some cities on here. McCook, I have you in the level 2. I know there's not a ton of cities that are hugging this highway right here, but right along the highway, I think I would even raise that to a level 3 risk for hail today. And then, of course, if you talk hail sizes, I would go up to 2-inch, which is about the size of an egg, to tennis ball size hail in this area right here. So if you look at southwestern Nebraska, you have a great chance for hail today. If you go farther to the central and eastern side of the state, your hail risk goes down. And if you look at the timeline, you can really see the difference in storm mode here. Because if we go through this timeline, you're going to start to see some really isolated storms out in the western side of the state. But then as we go into the late overnight hours, these storms become a lot more widespread, and they congeal into this line right through the central portion of the state, and that's whenever we shift from that hail to the wind risk. Just a reminder that there's a tornado risk during this time as well, so we could see that tornado risk, especially as we get into the evening hours about, I said earlier, 5 to 11. If you really want to narrow that timeline, maybe we would say closer to 7 to 10. And there you go. There's your isolated storms right now that start around 3 to 5 o'clock. You can see how widespread all of those storms get as they congeal into a line and they shift from more of that hail to that wind risk in the central portion of the state. Great question. Thanks for that question about Nebraska. We're going to go ahead and move on because I want to talk about the flooding risk as well. Your main flooding risk for today is going to be out in Virginia, where we were talking about that low pressure system that's been sitting there. It's been very stubborn for several days now, has not moved. However, you do have a level 1 flood risk in Nebraska and northern Kansas. That's going to be a little bit more widespread as we head into your Wednesday time frame, as that low pressure system continues to just trap that moisture right through the plains and then out into New Mexico, and then that'll shift to the east on Thursday. So there's a look at your severe hazards. You've got your marginal risk for today for most of us, and then slight risk in western Nebraska, again for that tornado hazard, large hail, and high wind. If we take you out of the U.S. now and back down to the Pacific, we have been giving you tropical updates every single day since the season started, maybe even before that. And last week we told you that by the middle of this week, we were going to have a lot more activity. That's exactly what we're seeing now as Mario, a tropical storm, hasn't made too many waves just off the coast of Mexico. However, it is creating a path for another storm behind Mario to get going over the next 5 to 7 days, maybe even before that. Now, this conveyor belt of storms is something that we see quite often in both the Pacific and the Atlantic. What we see in these areas is we see basically one storm kind of making a path for the storm behind it. So let me give you another example. In the Atlantic, we have a 90% chance for Invest 92L to be the next named storm, probably in the next 48 hours. So we're just hours away from that next named storm, and that'll be Gabrielle. But we don't stop there. We have another storm that's coming behind this next named storm, or Invest 92L right now. It's a low chance right now, but basically what this is doing is it's basically setting up the path for that next storm to come into. So we call this like a conveyor belt of storms. Again, we've got a 90% chance for this area that you can start to see this spin. You can start to see it organize as it moves up to the north and west. That'll be most likely Gabrielle within the next few days, 24, 48 hours. What conditions are we working with in the Atlantic? Well, we have some pretty decent lack of wind shear in this area. Let me show you what I mean here. Areas highlighted in blue, that's high wind shear. For tornadoes, for supercells, high wind shear is great. For hurricanes, high wind shear is going to kill the hurricane. This low wind shear, these areas highlighted here in red, that's going to enhance the organization of the hurricane, right? So if you want to see this tropical storm form, if you want to see more activity in the Atlantic, you need more of these red and orange colors. And we start to see that, especially as we head into the end of this week and this weekend. You can again see almost that conveyor belt, that line of storms that are possible to form because we get low shear in this area. Another thing that we look at are sea surface temperatures. The top level of the sea, what's the temperature? You know, honestly, it's not as warm as I would have expected for this time of the year. We're at mid-80s right now, 85 in these areas that these storms are looking to form. I think that last year we saw sea surface temperatures much higher. Now, we told you, again, this was our forecast last week. We told you that it was going to stay quiet until September 15th. Today is September 16th, and we have a 90% chance for our next named storm. So I think that we did a great job on that forecast. We said get ready, because by this week, by today, we were finally going to see a lot more activity. This is what we saw last year too. Back in 2024, the middle of September is whenever it seemed like that switch got flipped on, and it was just named storm after storm after storm after storm. Some of these tropical storms, some of these hurricanes, you remember Helene, right? You remember Milton from last year as well? Those all didn't happen until the end of September and early October. So we still have a lot of hurricane season left in front of us. Our average named storms is 14. So an average season, you would often see about 14 named storms. Last year we had 18, so that was above average. And for this year, our hail trace forecast is between about 12 and 17 named storms. So we still have, I think we've only had 6 storms so far. We've still got a lot of hurricane season in front of us. This is one of the busiest times of the year, so it's been pretty rare that it's so quiet over the past 20 days. We have not had a named storm in about 20 days. Isn't that crazy? Since August 28th, we have not had a named storm in the Atlantic. Our next name after Fernand is Gabrielle. After that, we're at Humberto, Imelda, Jerry, Karen after that. So we expect to have at least about 5 more named storms before the season is over. Bringing you back to the U.S. now, let's talk about temperatures as we head into the weekend. It's still pretty warm for a good portion of the U.S., especially the Midwest, where your temperatures are not only above average, but your weather is pretty quiet right now. As we talked about, a cold front coming through is not only going to bring storms today, but also cooler weather as we head into the middle and end of the work week. This will move into a good portion of the U.S., central to southern portions of the U.S. as we head into the end of this week. So we're talking about bringing our temperatures down from the 90s to the 80s, low 80s, more fall-like weather by this weekend. 82 in Oklahoma City, 79 for a high on Friday afternoon in Kansas City, and 81 in St. Louis. So I'm not saying it's cold, I'm just saying it's colder than now. If you like the warmer weather, you're in luck. It looks like temperatures are likely to stay above average for most, if not all, of the U.S. as we head into the end of September here. So we're talking about September 21st through the 25th. And then our coasts look like they're going to stay pretty wet with above average rainfall likely as we head into the end of the month as well. And there you go. There's your forecast today. Thanks for joining us. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we'll have your forecast again tomorrow. But if we get a named storm or any of those storms that happen in Nebraska, Colorado, Kansas, or Wyoming today, we'll be posting about it on our social media pages. Give us a follow and put that notification setting on so that you know you're notified when we post on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. We're pretty good about staying active on those platforms. And give us a call if you're interested in a hail, wind, or tornado map. Go ahead and do that right now before the storms hit. Give us a call at 855-334-4245 or email us at info@hailtrace.com. Head over to our website, hailtrace.com, for more information. Thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we'll see you back here same time, same place tomorrow.